Sony has released the ultimate frequently asked questions in preparation of the PlayStation 5 console. This is available on the Sony PlayStation blog. I'll post a link to this in the description below, so if you want to read it for yourself, you gladly can. There's a few things I want to highlight. This is a very meaty blog. This is one of the most lengthy posts I've seen to date. I'm really glad they're doing this. I kind of wish they'd done this sooner because I feel like a lot of these design decisions were already locked in place, but here we are. So let's jump into it. So this comes from Sid Schumann, the Senior Director of Sony Communications. He's the guy who's going to walk you through all this. And it basically walks through every aspect of this console. Release dates, prices, release date drops. Talks about the difference between the digital edition and the regular disk drive edition. Talks about the physical dimensions, which I think a lot of people have now realized this thing is going to be a beast. I have to actually go back and measure my entertainment space to make sure it will fit now that I have the actual dimensions directly from Sony. The weight is going to be pretty juicy as well. They said that you can run it in either vertical or horizontal configuration. I think most people try to run it vertically because they think it looks a little better that way, but to each their own. And it might just be honestly how it fits in. They also give a really nice breakdown for me. They know that I'm an engineer and I love this kind of stuff, of the input-output ports on the front and the back. And they talk a little bit about the networking, the Wi-Fi, that sort of thing, which is good to see. The fact that it does not include a power brick, I think, is really, really exciting. Although, honestly, that has never been an issue for Sony, ever. I don't think I've ever had a Sony console that used the power brick. Obviously, Microsoft had a slightly different design approach, particularly with the Xbox 360, which they did eventually mitigate for the Series S and Series X. I'm sorry, the Xbox One S and One X. And I believe the Series S and X are the same way as well. Talk a little bit about the breakdown of what you can expect to get. I know there's been a lot of controversy about the HDMI cable and will it support HDMI 2.1? Yes, they will give you the cable. Most TVs do not support the standard, but if you want it, you can get it, and there it is. And it already says that it includes Astro's Playroom pre-installed, so there's no downloading there. Talks a little bit about the solid-state drive and kind of breaks down what you can expect. Note that they currently do not allow you to transfer PlayStation 5 games to the USB drive. In other words, everything you install for the new generation must be on that super itty-bitty 650 gigabyte hard drive. May limit what you choose to play. They may expand this later. There is talk about the expansion port that will, in the future, allow for M.2 storage. I talked about this in the breakdown video review that I did, kind of walking through the ports. You can very clearly see there are numerous form factors of M.2 in terms of how big M.2 is. The bigger the hard drive, the longer it is, and you can see there are pinouts for each of those. But it will not be supported on day one. And it even says, I think here, should I buy one? No. So they are not even ready to support this. I would suspect this is a lot like the USB external hard drive, which I'll be doing a video on later in the week, and how that wasn't even online until like version 3.5 or 4.0 of the PlayStation OS. So it was also another thing that took some time to cultivate. So I don't suspect you're going to see support for this immediately. I'm sure Sony will release their own branded one, but the big advantage of this, if commercial drives do work, it will bring that price down considerably. And I'll talk about that more when we get more information on it. The section I was most interested in this entire post is the 3D audio. I've done numerous videos on my channel discussing the Tempest 3D audio, how it works, how to get your Astro mix amp working with it, what the best headset is, what alternative configurations are, and once again, Sony does confirm that this will work best via USB. This will work best via a 3.5 millimeter jack into the bottom of the DualSense controller. It says that every game will benefit from 3D audio, and it talks pretty exclusively about the Pulse 3D headphones, which subsequently I also reviewed on my channel. You could see my thoughts on those as well. So those will be an option for you as well if you want. Then it gets into some of the hardware specs, talking a little bit about this. I suspect nobody cares. Honestly, games are going to look great. Will they look as great as on other consoles? Will they look great as on other computers? Probably not. but if you really care, you can. It talks a little bit about in terms of heat, in terms of like where to set it up. It kind of gives you a rough idea. Obviously, do not cover your console with a cloth. I don't know who the hell has ever covered their console with a cloth. Don't do it. Since Schumann is telling you not to. It's got some nice information here about what televisions are supported, specifically what resolutions are in fact supported, and that it does support 8K when content is available. I don't think they're going to ever hit 8K. I've said this before. I think this is a huge pipe dream, just like 120 FPS. Even though there are a few games that support 120 FPS, they're going to be few and far between. I wouldn't worry about this. 99% of your televisions out there right now do not support 8K. They probably won't for many years until the price comes down rapidly. There's no content for 8K. But to be complete, Sony did include that information for you as well. Talks about some of the audio outputs. Again, this is important to me, particularly with being an audiophile and wanting to make sure I'm getting the best audio experience. You could see all of the formats listed there, and they recommend using the cable that they provide to get the best possible experience. Then they talk a lot about the DualSense Controller. A lot of breakdown here in terms of physical dimensions. How does haptic feedback work? What does the rumble do? How do the adaptive triggers work? And there's a really nice, long, deep dive video on Digital Foundry actually breaking this down piece by piece, showing you each little component. Needless to say, I think this is going to be the single most revolutionary thing of this generation across of Xbox and PlayStation. I do believe that this controller is really going to radically change how people play games, how people perceive input from games. I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on it and trying it. They also mention here that there is a mute button on the front because this controller does include a microphone on the front. So you are going to be able to talk into it. I don't know the quality of that yet. I suspect it's not going to be great, but it is an option if you want it. They talk a little bit about more of the motion controls and some of the capabilities with the share button and the light bar, some of the accessibility options, the remapping buttons, how many can I have paired? Will it work with my computer? Can I use third-party controllers? And here's the one thing I want to mention here. Licensed PS4 controllers with standard gamepad form factor, such as the SCUF Vantage or the Astro C40TR, will work with PS4 games only. So right now, there is no Pro controller for PlayStation 5. The back button compatibility attachment that I have on my DualShock 4 will not make the jump to PS5. Any SCUF controllers that currently exist out there, any Astro controllers, Razer, whatever ones you have, will not work. We're going to have to wait a while for this. This is pretty standard with console generations where the new tech comes out, give third-party companies some time to break it apart, figure out how to best put on paddles, attachments, different sticks, that sort of thing. You'll probably see those mid-next year. I would say, honestly, you're probably going to see them around then. So you have that as well. Then they break down some of the games. They talk about some of the launch games that are coming, what to expect, all the third-party games that are currently being supported. They also talk about region locking. It's a nice thing. PlayStation games are not region locked. That's a big, big, nice announcement. Although one that was completely expected, because that's exactly what the PlayStation 4 was. Talk about trophy lists. Talk about backward compatibility in terms of playing older games on PS5. It says there's really no advantage outside of the quicker load time. So don't expect full upgraded resolutions or anything. It'll be a case by case. There are obviously a handful of games that are very distinctly getting free upgrades. Borderlands 3, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, just to name a few. Can you play PlayStation 4 games from a USB drive? Yes, this is exciting news. Not all games will work, obviously. Not all USB drives will work, I should say, obviously. And I'll talk about that in a separate video. Because this is important. I think a lot of people are going to want to take their digital collection over. I know I am. I'm very excited for that. And then they just kind of get into some more games. Some of these questions, honestly, are kind of dopey. Like, can I play a beta? Can I play online? Will PlayStation Now work? Then they talk about the PlayStation Plus collection, which we've talked a lot about here on this channel. You can see a list here of everything you can expect. If you're a guy like me who buys everything, you're going to get maybe one or two games you've never played before, but I'll go back and play them. I'm really looking forward to playing Monster Hunter World with my friends. I think that was a game that went under a lot of people's radar, and I'm really eager to get a team together to take down Nergigante, because that guy is a pain in my ass. Let's talk a little bit about some of the Blu-ray discs, particularly the media controller and some of the other accessories that you can expect. For me, as a virtual reality guy, it's nice to see that they will support PSVR, but you're going to have to get an adapter. I did put in for the adapter. I have not yet received it. I think a lot of people are in the same boat as me. You can use your existing Move controller. You can move your existing PSVR aim controller as supported games on supported PS4 games for PS5. I suspect they're going to take a big jump into PSVR version 2 at some point in the future, and a lot of this stuff will not make the transition. So if you are a big virtual reality enthusiast, I think the safest recommendation is to keep your PS4 already and just use that. I don't think you're going to see a significant enough gain in order to make that jump, but it's a case by case, and you're going to choose what you want to do. Talks a little bit about the HD camera, particularly for streaming. Talks about some of the headsets, as I believe we already kind of walked through before. Headsets that connect, and this is just a reiteration of what I've been saying on this channel regarding 3D audio. Headsets that connect to a 3.5 millimeter jack, USB-A or USB-C will work with 3D audio, which obviously with the mix amp, with the optical port being removed, this creates a lot of problems. You can use a keyboard and a mouse if you want to. The games will determine if that is in fact supportable, and then they break down the UI. We are not even halfway through this, guys. I'm just going to blow through a lot of this. This breaks down the UI, how to customize the UI, entertainment apps, media services, how does friends and party sharing work, how do parental controls work, how do I connect online, how do I share and create content. Videos recorded and saved at 1080-60, which is really cool. 4K is available if you want it. PS5 will automatically record the last 60 minutes of your game if you want. So you can go back and kind of edit your stuff automatically, and it's just going to roll over itself. This is a feature you'll most likely be able to turn off to save hard drive space. It is highly recommended you keep it at 1080p, not 4K resolution, if you want to have your hard drive space available for anything, because that's going to fill up very, very quickly. And there's going to be a lot of content creation stuff. I'll do separate videos on this when the console comes out. We can kind of walk through how to use it and what it works. I was a big fan of Share Factory. I thought it was a phenomenal free service for an up-and-coming content creator such as myself to be able to kind of collaborate and put together some very interesting game clips with really cool key art from existing PlayStation games. And it seems like they will continue to support that as well. One big piece of news that I just, as I'm scrolling down here, you will not include a dedicated web browser app. This could create problems if you are traveling and you need to use your PlayStation 5 to connect to hotel Wi-Fi. That does require some sort of authentication. I'll have to test that at some point when I can travel again to let you know how that works out. In the past, we used to do good old Mac spoofing on our cell phones. This may be a situation like that again. Remains to be seen. And there you go. That's quite a bit. And then a lot of questions and comments. There's a lot here. There's a lot to digest. I just went through at a high level to call out a couple things that I found particularly interesting. But leave a comment below. Let me know what your thoughts are, specific questions and answers I may be able to help you with. Kind of a big PlayStation fan, so I've been reading a lot of this. I'm very familiar with what's going on. Hope you guys found this video informative. Thank you so much for watching. And take care of yourselves. And until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.